So welcome everyone to the Hybrid Health, the Power of Gut and Nervous System Coaching. I'm Coach Britt, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on me before we go into understanding Gut 101, understanding the nervous system, and why not just coaching, but our personal health and wellness is so needing this niche hybrid approach. It's not something just new and fancy. It's not something trendy. It is a foundation that we've discovered that is so important in our functional health for everyone. So whether you're watching this out of your own personal health curiosity or professionally, hopefully this gives you some insight. So I'm Coach Britt. I am the founding educator at HWCA, the OG Gut Health School. I am also the author of Buddha Belly, a mind, body, soul approach to health starting with your gut. We're going to hit 10 years with the Gut Health School this next March of 2027. And when we started, I personally got into gut health through mental health. So it wasn't even obvious GI distress, although looking back on it, I could see areas where now I can see some of these GI symptoms were there. But I actually got in because of mental health. I actually struggled with severe debilitating anxiety and bouts of depression as early as age around 4 to 6. I would go on to start missing school, claiming I was sick because I was by about first to second grade. And this would fluctuate throughout my life. So I went through a ton in my early life. I'll save you all the details of that. But when I got older, I was always trying to figure out how to help myself. I was very overweight as a kid, then got very preoccupied with changing my physical body as I got older. And so I got into health and nutrition a little sloppily in my late teens, early 20s, and lost a lot of weight, did whatever. But I didn't get into gut health until later at a little closer to 30. And at this point in time, I had a lot behind me. I had thought a lot of my struggles throughout my life and throughout all these years with mental health, with anxiety, with panic attack level anxiety, was hormonal. This is what I'd started coming to. So as I had researched everything nutrition and health and wellness I could get my hands on for 10 years before I pursued any type of wellness profession. Before I got into coaching, I was a hairdresser, I was a coffee stand owner, and I was the coffee stand owner and the hairdresser talking all about whatever book I had just read, all kinds of things, health and wellness. I was vegetarian for 7 years. I mean, you name it. Had chickens in my backyard, and then, it was very funny. And so it was really in my blood. So when I actually ended up getting certified, I thought I was going to specialize in hormones because I thought this has to be related to my issues, because I saw such a hormonal correlation. I had miscarriages. I saw it, my mental health and my anxiety or bouts of depression. I mean, I saw this. There was correlations with parts of my cycle or my hormones. So I concluded this. Well, it didn't make a lot of sense when we're going all the way back to age 4 to 6, right? Hormones. But this was my rationale at the time. So through researching hormones, getting certified as a coach, I thought I was specializing in hormones. And as I dug deeper and deeper and deeper in this, into mental health, into hormones, it all brought me back to the gut. And so we would go on and I would write this book, having no idea what I was going to do with it. I started teaching it at the school I went to because the school I got certified at didn't know anything about gut health. And so at this point, I am now, I wrote the book. I started teaching a course in class through this other school. My intentions was to help equip coaches and aspiring coaches with this area they weren't understanding so they could better help their clients. Because if they didn't understand gut health, they didn't understand how these seemingly healthy recommendations they were giving to clients were working against them or not working for them. And so that's where we started. Well, the school I went to had different motivations than I did. And so they were much more after the money and I was after the efficacy. So we split ways and the Gut Health School started flourishing. We had trained over hundreds and hundreds of coaches in over 26 plus countries. And we always took the holistic approach. We talk about gut-brain health and not just gut health from a biology standpoint. And But what happened was really fascinating to me. I had gone about 10 years without full-blown panic attacks. And so I was really a believer of gut health. I was like, this is amazing. This saved my freaking life. And by the point you're 30 and you've been dealing with this all of your life, your hope that there would be any change in this is pretty low, right? Most professionals and stuff would say like, this is you. This is what you got. But I never accepted that. And so I had gone about a decade without severe panic attacks. And what was really fascinating about that, so I'm a big believer. I'm walking my talk. I'm doing the gut health things. I know a ton. I'm coaching coaches all over the world in this. And started in about fall of 2022. My panic attacks came back, and they came back with a vengeance. The first real one hit, and it was so severe, I thought I was going into a physical seizure. So I don't need to get into all the things because I don't want to get anybody else riled up right now. But any of you who know have been through real panic attacks know that the somatic response, and it wasn't in my head, it was the CO2 wasn't making its way through my body. I was doing my best to breathe. I was doing all this, and I couldn't do it. I ended up calling 911. Okay. And I had been having someone call, and I had a lifetime of dealing with panic attacks. Like, this shouldn't be new for me. Right. But this one blew me out of the water. And this was just the beginning of my nervous system completely overloading. The environment I was in was very unhealthy. And despite my best efforts, it was not getting healthier. And my body started falling apart. And so the next 3 years, about 3 years, 2 years of this would be horrible. They would be super, super hard. So this is 22. So, okay, about 3 years. I had an environmental change, and still it was about a year into my new life. That whole year, I still could not function well. I was so severely depleted. I had developed an autoimmune thyroid condition, Hashimoto's. My hair was dumping out. My sleep was really funky. I was waking up in the middle of the night in full-blown panic out of a dead sleep. I'm waking up first thing in the morning like there was an emergency all over my house. This is what was happening in my body. I literally had what I called a 911 buffer person. This is the person that I'm pretty sure this is something going on with me, and it's not a severe emergency, but I'm a single mom at home with my 4-year-old daughter, and I need somebody that I can call who could call 911 if this is severe, right? Because right now it's so severe in my body and in my experience that I am scared. And so this was happening chronically. My legs felt like they would give out. I mean, it was absolutely horrific. And this is 8 years at this point into having the gut health school. I am still continuing at this point in my life to help other people. They're having results. I'm training the coaches. I'm giving them everything I have, but I don't know how to help myself. And so I got really, really desperate. How do I recover from this? What happened is I had been through such prolonged environmental stress for so long that probably stemmed from things very early, right? I was one of those people who was born in hypervigilance and in an environment that required it. And I continued in it and never knew how to pull out it. I never knew a different life. And I patterned things that kept it going. And I'd ended up in a place that was really, really, really intensely unhealthy. And so this chronic state put me in a chronic state of hypervigilance. It made it so my nervous system was stuck up here. So if you can imagine a cup, right? We have a cup. Our cup is so full, and this is our capacity. So if your nervous system is stuck, you're running around, your capacity cup is almost full all the time. It only takes a few drops to run that thing over. It could be walking into a stimulating store. It could be a phone call you get. It could be something random and you don't even know what's happening. So it gets to the point where you start feeling crazy, or you start maybe looking at yourself and going, am I doing this? What's wrong? And so I got really, really desperate. I had all this education, maybe too much, and I got desperate. And this was the point I was forced to not just learn it in my mind. I had to start embodying it and practicing it in my own system. I got certified in trauma-informed breath work. I trained and certified in NLP. I'm like, what can I do for my brain? At this point, I don't know what is in my head, what is in my body, what is in my physiology and my hormones. I'm anemic. What is what right now? And that's a really hard place. A lot of our clients are there. A lot of individuals are there where they're looking at the aftermath of a body that's freaking out, and they're going, where do I even start? Where is it even? Maybe they've gotten multiple diagnoses and signs. But what happened is I started having to apply it. And I started daily doing these breath work. I had to do this training consistently. And what I learned is that while I was putting together my physical body and I was treating it, I was needing to teach my nervous system safety, which is something it had never known. And because it got into a situation that was so severe, it couldn't handle it anymore. It was warning me. It was doing its best to help me survive. And those survival mechanisms had suited me so long, and they do suit us. That's our body coming through for us. They suit us until they don't. And we get a second chance. We get this time where we go, okay, thank you for carrying me through. Thank you for sending me the signals. But now this isn't sustainable. This isn't how we're going to live forever. How do I heal? How do I come back to this center? And so what happened is, while I was training, I started bringing this into the school. I looked at what we were doing with gut health, and I was like, we've always approached it holistically, but this is not enough anymore. And maybe it never was. And I looked at my whole entire life and was like, I actually needed this from day one. And we evolved. As I had evolved in this journey, it was really a gift that had been given to me and to all of us in this profession, because it helped us evolve as a school. So I ended up working with other people in the nervous system component, and we added the neuroresilience coach training to our certifications, and we started teaching it, and we started talking about it. And now you don't even hear me. I'm known as the gut health girl. I'm the Buddha belly girl. That's how people know me. And now you don't hardly even hear me talk about the gut without the nervous system. And from the response we've had for these classes and these content, a lot of people are resonating with this. Okay. So now let's get into some education. You know a little bit about me. Maybe this helps you trust me, why I'm here in front of you today, what we're all doing here today. If you can relate to any pieces of this story, or the physical ailments and conditions and autoimmunity, and all the things that come from these states of our body, okay, you're not the only one, but it helps to understand. So I'm going to go into the class now. I'm going to screen share, and we're going to get going on this part. Sorry, I did it. Okay. Here we are. We're going to cover it in these 3 parts today. So I'm going to talk about the gut, understanding it. This is the healthiest way and the easiest way I think it is to understand gut health. Then we're going to talk about the nervous system, and that'll help you understand how these are really connected, whether you're looking at this through a personal wellness lens, or whether you're looking at this professionally, and why so many people need this, why clients are waiting for it. We've surpassed passive coaching is what I call it. And I don't mean this to be condescending to anyone, but we need powerful coaching that keeps us within our scope of practice. So we're not trying to be doctors diagnosing. We're not trying to be therapists therapizing. But we aren't just doing passive coaching. We aren't just doing reflective listening. We're actually coming in with strong tools and a powerful life coaching style presence that helps people. This is what clients will pay for. And this is what will actually impact everyone. This is the missing link. So right now, most people are, the biggest complaints that you'll see, and we can probably, a lot of us relate to these personally, is fatigue and low energy, stress, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, hypervigilance, like, chicken with your head cut off, everything all the time, poor sleep, bloating, constipation, and digestive discomfort, weight and metabolic struggles. That's huge. It just won't budge. It's coming on when I haven't changed anything, and then it doesn't come off. Hormonal symptoms, heavier cycles, wicked PMS, irregularity, acne breakouts, brain fog, the stuff that starts coming in there, brain fog and difficulty concentrating. And that one stinks. Chronic pain and inflammation, feeling like, oh, you're just getting older. Not necessarily. Low mood and emotional dysregulation, just not feeling motivated, not feeling a lust for life, waking up kind of emotional dysregulation, constantly feeling overwhelmed, easily set off, very emotional. This isn't just a problem with you. This is a symptom from your body. So what do many of today's most common health complaints have in common? So the gut and nervous system may influence how they develop, present, and even persist. And the two systems are constantly communicating bidirectionally with one another. And you're going to understand that a little better throughout this. So why are we still compartmentalizing health the way we are? Why are we leaving clients? Why are wellness professionals leaving individuals to a million different specialists when this is one? We need to understand a functional system here, that it's all somewhat connected. And when we can learn that system, when we can calibrate that system, we can build the foundations of health without having to focus on a million different components, diagnoses, conditions, like they're fractured, because they're not. And when we can build that foundation, it'll help us see what's left, what we need the specialist to dig into deeper, but you'd be surprised how much it all comes together. So here's some real stats. 30.5% of US adults get under 7 hours of sleep. 15.4% report trouble falling asleep almost every single day. 24.3% of adults, is almost a quarter of adults, report chronic pain. And among younger adults, obesity and depression are amongst the most frequently reported chronic conditions. Amongst midlife adults, it's obesity, high cholesterol, and hypertension are especially prevalent. And digestive diseases account for tens of millions of medical visits a year. And I'll say this personally, they often result in, they don't know what's wrong with me. They tell me I have IBS. That's often what we'll see. They'll give them a scope. They'll say you have IBS. So here's a little bit about understanding the gut. The three components of gut health. We have the bacterial ecosystem, the physical structure, and the gut-brain connection. And they are all equally important. The bacterial ecosystem is the bacteria that reside in your gut. Technically, your gut is your large intestine, but there's some that exist in the small intestine healthily. Bacteria you have a microbiome in and on your entire body. So you have microbiome on your skin and your eyes. I mean, everywhere you can think, and it's a little different. It's an ecosystem. Like, think of it like a rainforest with different creatures that are responsible for keeping that ecosystem alive. You know, we learned a long time ago that the demise of bees could lead to the demise of humans because of how interconnected nature was. The system was so beautifully perfect. And only through our massive disruption did that get out of sync. The bees were needed to pollinate all of this growth, this foliage, and without that, the succession of damage the ripple effect was insurmountable. And we learned that, something so simple. And the same is true for your gut. So you have all of these different bacteria, yeasts, microbes, and stuff. And intentionally, they live in harmony, and they have different jobs and things that they're responsible for. Things like digestion, assimilating nutrients. Like, you need certain bacteria and a healthy enough gut to assimilate and absorb the vitamins and minerals and nutrients from your food. And if they're out of sync, you could eat the healthy food, but not be absorbing the nutrition and end up malnourished, leading to all kinds of other things, right? These bacteria are supposed to be, ideally, 80% what we call gram-positive bacteria to 20% what we consider gram-negative. Gram-negative bacteria don't necessarily mean bad bacteria. They mean bad if they get out of ratio. So if they overgrow, they can be very, very harmful. Think of like a bunch of animals. Okay, if you've got like a couple of dogs in a group of dogs that are pretty aggressive, but they stay in line okay because you got a ton of golden retrievers, right? As opposed to if you have a bunch of those dogs that are much more independent-minded and behaviorally independent, we might have more issue, right? That may not be the best example, but I'm sure you get the point here. So ratio is a big deal. And even some of the gram-negative bacteria aren't bad. Some of them are still needed to make this ecosystem function. Okay, think of it like any animal. I know in North Idaho we have wolves. We've had a wolf issue for a certain amount of years. They brought in a type of wolf that didn't exist here, and it caused a bunch of issue in our ecosystem because we morphed nature. You know, we came in and we intervened, and it caused a bunch of issues. We were having finding like elk and stuff with worms, and I mean, it was just causing all these problems. And so then they were like, okay, now everyone gets tags to go shoot the wolves, and then we're trying to like make up for it, right? The thing is the wolves were never bad. They weren't bad when they were where they were supposed to be. They weren't bad in the ratios they were in. We took them out, we put them in a different environment, and they overpopulated, and now we had a problem. The same is true for our gut. And the bacteria in your gut do so many things. They communicate. And when we're going to talk about the brain, those bacteria communicate to the brain along the vagus nerve. Your bacteria are responsible for majority of the serotonin and dopamine that you produce. So your feel-good hormones, your calming hormones, that are your like GABA calms you down. Your neurotransmitter production. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. They're responsible for most of your neurotransmitters. So much of your brain function, and this is everything from cognitive focus to anxiety, depression, emotional regulation. Think of like how many people struggling with things like ADHD, autism spectrum. Okay, the bacteria in our body is critical. It is communicating. What is it communicating? And the health of that bacteria is going to make a big difference on what it's communicating. The physical structure is the second part. So this is what protects the gut lining. And if you'll see here in the picture, this is the mucosal lining. And there's all this stuff going on here. A lot of your immune system is in this. And this mucosal lining is protective. It protects these junctions in the gut that lead to the bloodstream. And what it does is it takes care of nutrients and stuff, and it allows just what it needs into the body. Well, what happens is the bacteria feed on that mucosal lining as they're supposed to. It helps regenerate it like skin, right? Where some falls off and then it gets nicer. But what happens is when the gut is off from stress or because the ecosystem of bacteria is poor, the bacteria can overfeed on that mucosal lining. And what this does is it opens up now. All the stuff in the gut can start seeping through the gut. And this is where you're going to hear these junctions right here. And this is where you're going to hear the term leaky gut. This is a huge problem. And what it does is then we've got lots of foreign invaders, food particles, etc., making its way to the bloodstream. The bloodstream, which is supposed to majority of the time remain sterile. It's not supposed to see this stuff. And if it does, it's equipped. The body is equipped. It sends in antibodies. It sends in your immune system. It goes into inflammation, and in order to destroy that stuff in your blood, it's not supposed to be there. So your body has a mechanism for doing that. But when you have a leaky gut, too much is getting in there, and it's going to keep the body in a prolonged state of inflammation. And this is now where we start seeing degraded conditions. We start seeing allergies, intolerances, inflammation, chronic pain, all this stuff, because the body is in a constant fight. It's not getting a break because it's being contaminated constantly, because this mucosal lining has gotten poor completely or very depleted. So this is a problem. And what we want to see in the microbes is the gut is supposed to be about 80% gram-positive bacteria to about 20% gram-negative. The average American or person in industrialized country, their gut is the opposite. Only about 20% beneficial bacteria to about 80% gram-negative. So imagine the overfeeding that's happening to this mucosal lining. The lack of quality control happening with neurotransmitter production, the seepage that's going into the bloodstream and the chronic inflammation. Now, all of these different conditions that we're being diagnosed with, that we're experiencing, start not looking so separate and overwhelming and confusing anymore. start looking like a system that's falling apart. Thirdly, we have the gut-brain connection. I'm very passionate about this. Obviously, it's what brought me here. But this is a two-way bi-directional communication highway. So, like we said, because of that neurotransmitter production, it's going to influence mood, stress, even cravings. Everyone, cravings. So when you hear lately a lot of people talking about quote unquote food noise, which is a term that was just recently kind of invented, in my opinion, a lot of food noise is communication from gut bacteria. If you have a lot of overgrowth, those gut bacteria are going to tell you they want the food that feeds them the best. And often this is simple carbohydrates, processed foods, and refined sugars. Strong food cravings or sugar cravings. Lots of and another thing with that too is sometimes it's a nervous system communication, in my opinion, as well. We're really stressed. We need to calm down. That oral fixation, that feeding is a very much a pathway that we go down for regulation. And so this gut-brain connection, and it goes two ways. When you are incredibly stressed out, your nervous system gets highly activated. Or even when you're dealing with chronic stress, and I want everyone to be so aware of this because many of us are functionally stressed. We function really well in stress. We're very used to it. We may not even know that we're living in a really heightened fight or flight state. But when we're in this state, or we haven't dealt with traumas or experiences, or it's living in our body, or it's triggered really easy, and we're just kind of moving through, we're unaware of this state, it really causes problems because it puts the body in a constant state of fight or flight. Being in that sympathetic dominance, which is that fight or flight, the body will prioritize survival mechanisms, not rest and digest, not growth, not a growth track, not a repair track. Okay? So when it is calm, it can rest and it can digest. There's a reason it can't rest and it can't digest. It can't sleep and it can't digest food well when we're in a fight or flight. And this can make it all the way to your sleep schedule very, very easily. And what happens is that it then, when we're prioritizing survival, the body is going to prioritize blood pumping and heart beating and acute senses, right? So you might be overamped, over sensory overloaded, lights are brighter, things are overwhelming, but that gut starts going stagnant because the blood is not going to go to the gut. It is going to go everywhere else. So imagine you're eating and you have a gut in a state of paralysis now, where food's just kind of sitting there. This sets us up for a host of issues, including SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, something that if you start studying or follow us long enough, you'll hear more about. So when we talk about the nervous system is very much a part of this gut-brain pathway. Your vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve. This is a powerhouse, and it runs from the brainstem down through the neck and chest and abdomen. So it connects your brain to your heart, lungs, and gut. So it's what goes right to that gut. And it does so much more. So it helps regulate heart rate and blood pressure. The lungs supports easy rhythmic breathing and oxygenation. How many of us find ourselves breathing poorly? Like I said, I took that breathwork class and I still find myself breathing very shallow. That's usually a sign to me I've had too much caffeine. I've been running too hard. I haven't regulated. I need to downshift my nervous system. And now I know the damage that it does when it's upregulated that often. And so I try and be more conscious of that. And that's part of where this stuff helps, is the consciousness in the state of our bodies. But the gut, it stimulates digestion in the gut, nutrient absorption and elimination. It basically gets that gut moving. The gut actually is like its own separate entity. This is why they call it the second brain. Okay, because actually it works without you. Like the brain, it has its own function that keeps moving. It's wild. And so it also helps the immune system. So it regulates inflammation, immune responses, and it carries information both ways. So when your brain is stressed, it's going to go, it's going to shoot some feedback right down to the gut. It's going to go, we have a problem. Okay, cut blood supply, paralysis, prioritize heart function, get all this stuff going, right? And what we just talked about happens. So the sympathetic activation, so like we said, this activates us to mobilize and protect us. So it will prioritize the racing heart, the muscle tension, the anxiety, the irritability, overwhelm, feelings, digestive, slow down or even shut down hypervigilance. Okay. You okay? You okay? I got everything. I got everything. What did I not think about? I'm worried about today, tomorrow, the next day, the next year, the next decade. That's hypervigilance. And it puts us stuck in overdrive. So you may feel wired, on edge, and unable to relax. And the worst feeling too is when you feel the wired but tired, where your body feels like it just can't do enough. It's very heavy, but your brain is like racing a million miles an hour. Absolutely horrible. And a lot of women will especially know what I'm talking about because it's common, especially with hormonal fluctuations. Things like perimenopause. So flight, okay, this is another response where maybe it's still sympathetic activation, but it's going to motivate us to escape and avoid, or the racing thoughts, the worry, the restlessness, the can't focus, can't sit down. Okay, gut discomfort, shallow breathing. My gut discomfort when I get in these states would be like I could swallow food, but it just felt like it sat at the top of my stomach. I would feel more discomfort in my back when I'd go to sit down. I just feel like I couldn't sit still and I couldn't get comfortable and I was so tense. So you'll feel restless and disconnected and kind of never at ease, and your body's always trying to outrun something. Then you have the freeze response, and this is how some people may respond as well. This is dorsal vagal activation. So it activates to shut down, to survive. So it'll numb you out. You'll start disassociating, disconnecting, feeling just so exhausted, low mood, heavy, foggy, kind of digestive shutdown. Okay. And you'll feel flat, just kind of nothing there, numb, without energy, and your body is just kind of shut down to keep you safe. And this is how this works. The vagus nerve carries sensory information from your body to your brain, and it monitors signals from your brain to your body. So this is why you can see strong, what we call sympathetic activation, activation within the body. Somatic activation, which is where we feel so many symptoms. Like when I would have a panic attack, my arms can go numb, my hands can go numb, my vision can go funky. So many weird physical things. They're not in your head. They're your body responding to the severity of an issue. And if you think about that, if you've ever almost, fallen down the stairs or almost gotten a car accident, and then you look at the state of your body right after that, right? You're freaked out and you're breathing funny and whatever, but we probably don't think about it too much because it makes sense. We almost just got in a car accident. Of course we feel this way. But when you're experiencing this stuff chronically without that obvious trigger or activation, it starts wearing on you, and it can make people just wonder what's wrong with them or become afraid of their body. And that's very much what happened to me. So we're going to use this little example here, and then I'm going to point you guys in some directions, and then I'm going to open up for Q&A via the text. But this is Jessica, okay? Jessica is a simulated client that represents very real clients we've had. Very, very, very real clients. Probably like majority of women that are going to even join this webinar right now. If you are about in your 40s to early 50s, Jessica might be you. And we're going to talk about this a little bit. So typically, so Jessica here, her occupation is marketing director. Of course, her lifestyle is busy, very high responsibility job, juggling family and work, longer hours, minimal self-care. But I'm sure she's got her schedule laid out. I'm sure she remembers all the football games, the laundry, the client schedules, the things at work. Her sleep is maybe 5 to 6 hours a night, and she wakes up feeling really tired. If you're not resting deeply too, you could get 9, 10 hours a night and wake up feeling exhausted. These are signs that we're not deeply sleeping. Her goals is she just wants to feel like herself again, improve digestion, lose weight, reduce anxiety, and regrow her hair. So what she's dealing with on this is hair loss, weight gain. She's gained about 15 to 20 pounds over the past 2 to 3 years, especially around her midsection, which is less, common for her before. IBS, so gas, or quote unquote IBS. I'll tell you right now, most IBS is what I call a BS diagnosis. It's kind of like saying a baby has colic. It's saying you have a set of common symptoms that we really don't have an answer to. Well, in the wellness world, in the gut health world, we have a lot deeper understanding of IBS. We know that it's often connected to things like SIBO and gut stuff, and we won't get into that too much right now. But the good news about that is that we we know to dig deeper. So she'll have the bloating, abdominal discomfort after meals, alternates between constipation or diarrhea, things like that. And then she's got the anxiety. She's feeling constantly on edge, worried, overwhelmed, has a hard time shutting her mind off. Gosh, that one stinks. And some of the possible root causes, okay, she's going to go somewhere and they may say gut dysbiosis and inflammation impacting digestion, nutrient absorption, and hormone balance. If they say that, it's probably a functional medicine doctor. Bless their hearts. Leaky gut, poor gut barrier function. Sure. Dysregulated nervous system stuck in stress, low vagal tone, high cortisol. Sure. This would be a very functional medicine doctor to give her this information. Hormonal imbalance, perimenopause. Oftentimes this stuff will be written out like either we'll see anti-anxiety meds handed out. We'll see, oh, it's just this time in your life. It's just your age, maybe perimenopause, maybe if we even talk about that. It's just your stress. Blood sugar imbalances can be happening during this too. And so obviously we've seen how it shows up for her. So here's what she is trying. Probiotics on and off, right? Random probiotics, maybe whatever has the most bacterial strains, whatever gimmicky thing she's read. Cutting out gluten and dairy. Maybe she's tried multiple diets, keto, intermittent fasting, Weight Watchers, whatever. Digestive enzymes, magnesium at night, deep breathing, meditation, hair, skin, nails, okay? What she really wants is just to feel better, okay? And so what's honestly happening is she may receive appropriate care for each individual complaint, but it's going to feel like such a messy puzzle. And when you start looking at this, I would never look, and no responsible coach is going to look at Jessica and say, I know what's wrong with you. It's my job to diagnose you. It's my job to figure it out, because it isn't. That's outside of our scope of practice. And frankly, the individual, we always teach this, the individual is their own best practitioner. They know their body. They know the state. They know everything. We're not coming in there doing that. We can be very powerful coaches without trying to be doctors. And even our functional medicine doctors can't do everything. Okay. And so what often happens to people like her, when I get them as coaches, which happens a lot, they say, this was me. I went to this person. I went to that person. I was seeing this. I was seeing that. I was seeing this. And where they finally started having results was because they started putting their own stuff together. They had to work so hard to do it. And that's what's really great about the point where they get to being a coach, is because coaches are there to be an assistant. We're still not there to diagnose, treat, or be the one direction. We're there to be, we're there with an incredible toolbox of experience and knowledge that helps guide a person through their journey of their ailments to their own answers. But we have so much we bring to the table. We can chop up that time frame. We can chop that down immensely. And that's why we do it, so that they don't have to go through all the suffering that we did to come to where we are now. And so that it can be much more simple, and they're not doing it alone, because that's the worst part too, is to be constantly navigating this alone. And so a solid coach has a Rolodex. I have a Rolodex of, functional medicine practitioners, etc. And these are the people that I bring in as well. So they can go, hey, I think you should do a full blood panel and figure out, where you're nutrient deficient, or do some of these hormone tests. But the cool thing is that when we're still there building the same foundations, when we can come in with our gut and nervous system, our hybrid approach with the life coach support strategies, the ability to connect with people, the ability to work with the mind piece of it too, and the nervous system, that regulation and awareness, along with some of the dietary and biology kind of techniques that we put in there, we come in like a freaking powerhouse. And what happens is that when you when you walk someone through a lot of these processes, you may find that they don't have all of these symptoms anymore, or that what they have left after we've built that foundation, or while we're building that foundation, is by far less, and it's much more informational. Now we can take that to someone. Now we can say, hey, or now they're starting to make headway. Because even if Jessica goes to her functional medicine doctor, and her functional medicine doctor does some blood work, and does a hormone panel and maybe puts her on a little bit of some supplemental estrogen and puts her on some different supplements, right, for some of her nutrient deficiencies. It's still, we still want to support the things we're talking about here. Her nervous system regulation, the state of that vagal nerve tone, the nervous system regulation, period, as well as her gut foundations, because that gut is what's processing those nutrients. We don't just want to supplement. We need to figure out why she's not absorbing it. And so when we can come in still, no matter who she's working with, our foundation is so important. And a coach is really the only person who's going to be with you consistently. They're going to be the ones that walk you through it. There is not a doctor out there who can talk to you multiple times a week, who can help you figure out the small things or reading a food label or of a food reaction on a dime. This is why coaches are needed, but they need to know what they're doing. They need to have confidence. They need to be well-trained, and they need to be powerful. I'm going to give you this information, everyone, before I open up for question here, just so you know, but we'll send some emails out later too. So we do certification, but we do have a personal program as well. This code will allow you to apply for a partial scholarship. So if there's any piece of you that's thinking about getting certified as a coach, advancing yourself as a coach, or joining the personal program to work on your own stuff. The personal program is included in the coach certification, by the way, but these are our programs. So I just want to give you that scholarship QR right there. We'll send some other stuff out later too, and you can see it. But that's up there, and I'm going to now stop screen sharing and come back to video. Alrighty, y'all. Hopefully that gave you some good information. What I want to do now is I'm going to take some questions in the chat. Okay, so if anyone has a few questions, what we're not going to do is we're not going to do huge diagnostic questions. I'll filter these, but go ahead and give me if you've got any questions. Maybe they're coaching questions, maybe they're personal, some of the stuff. Maybe you want to share something that you liked about the class. Go ahead and start in here, and we'll have a few minutes to do some of this. And while we're waiting for this leg, I really appreciate everyone joining tonight. We have over 200 and some people sign up for this class, a mix of coaches and individuals talking about this. And as coaches, and I keep saying this too, for the coaches, about a third of the people that signed up for this class tonight are individuals. We're here for personal wellness. And that is because a huge chunk of them came from our already email list, which is pretty certification focused. So what this means is there is a massive amount of people out there that want what we can do. And we're not finding each other. And this is where I talked about earlier, the difference between what I call passive coaching and powerful coaching. Powerful coaching doesn't have to step outside of our scope of practice. Okay, we don't even want to. We don't want to diagnose someone. But and we don't want to be the therapist per se, right? But what we want to do is we want to be so well educated that we support this client's journey really well. And that's powerful coaching. Reflective listening, those are all important pieces of coaching. But if we just stay there, we're probably not going to make big moves with clients, and they probably aren't going to pay for our services. And we've seen this time and time again. So so if we already have a health and wellness coaching certificate and add your certification to it, do we have any support post-certification to help connect us to clients? Oh, yes. Okay, so I am an absolute freak about forever growth. So we actually have a community. We have monthly business masterminds every single month that we do. And these are focused on usually business. And then I bring something to the table, and then the coaches get a weigh in with any obstacle they're at. So this is like personal coaching. These are evergreen, long after graduation. We also have a client or an alumni membership that's pretty inexpensive for our coaches, our coach alumni. And in there's advanced certification, advanced continuous education. But there's also a ton of extra business and the closed group too. So what we do in these spaces is we're helping our coaches. I always say, don't let go of me and I won't let go of you. So what that means is that you cannot fail. We do so much business training with our coaches as well. But then this part, when they're jumping in the masterminds, when we're working in the closed group, this is how they really get the help when they choose to show up for it. Like, we can't go knock on your door and drag you into your own business, right? But when they really show up for it, this is where this one-on-one piece, when we're working it through in real time, is where the successful coaches happen. And we train our coaches to be educators. So you're not out selling yourself, you are educating. And because our coaches can work with our Gut Brain Life program, with that personal program that I was saying we have that to support our coaches. We have that to, it's not because we're out there just trying to get people into our personal program. We have it to support our coaches. So that helps them, they have that backing behind them. It's a trademarked program. And so they're able to bring people into that, with us also helping support them in the group. I hope that answers some of that question. Any other questions? Everyone has been just lovely tonight. Did all this make sense? Was there any more questions or elaboration on some of what we were talking? So, good day, Coach Britt. Yay. Thank you so much for this info and intro. Will this course be online at your own pace? It is. RGT. Coach RGT. Thanks for your excellent intro there. I love that. It is. It's online at your own pace. And we have coaches all over the world. And so it is all at your own pace. But I will say, as of the taping of this webinar, we are retaping and advancing the whole education this October. So I'm actually going to be reteaching it live this October, but it will I'll be teaching a class a week or a module a week, but it will all be cataloged in the training, so people can watch it after that as well. But we are advancing things because we're adding more details about how we handle things like the GLP-1 usage or coming off of that and everything. God bless you too, RGT. Yeah. And so we're going to be advancing that. So I will be teaching it live. And it's been 5 years since I've taught it live, and we've advanced this education. And we'll have some of our coaches and alumni even going through this live with us and advancing some of the material, which we like to do periodically because it's necessary. Any other questions? Thank you, Melissa. I so enjoy having everybody here tonight. So I'll give it one more sec, and then I'll let everyone get on with their lovely evenings. I know some of you are 9 p.m., 9:30 your time. Thank you. All right, everyone. Well, if you have any additional questions, you can always email us. Check out for the recap of this if you want to rewatch it. And if you have any questions or information about applying for one of our upcoming scholarship cohorts, or just asking questions, sending some questions to our team, you can feel free to do that. You can email directly, education@hwcacoach.com, and our girl Claire should get back to you on any questions. But until then, thank you so much for showing up. I hope this gives you some hope. I hope it gives you some knowledge that empowers you, that we don't have to stay the same, that if you're in this profession, that you are needed, and that you are here to have a big impact, and that you can stand out as a coach. This is the forefront of wellness. This is the future of where it's going. Have a lovely, lovely evening.